maybe not the worst broadcast that they've ever put together. Goodness knows they have produced a lot of stinkers when it comes to their Truck Series broadcast.
They've got a Hall of Fame. Or
Yeah,
a Hall of, oh boy.
a Hall of Shame, I think, is what you're looking for
Yeah.
there,
Well,
Brandon. But to be on network television, to have Mike Joy at the track and still be calling the race remotely, I think only the beginning of their problems from Saturday's broadcast. But before I get into any of my criticisms, Brandon, what were your thoughts on the product that Fox displayed on Saturday on network TV? I might reiterate.
I'll be honest with you, Ben. I when I went over to it, I kept it at low volume, and and unfortunately, that's what I feel like I have to do with the Truck Series this year. Is I find myself either with the radio call on and the TV on mute, or I've got the TV kind of low anyway, and I'll check in every now and then if I want to hear something. But um, the not to knock anyone. I don't want to knock anybody because they're all great in their own right. Michael Waltrip, Trevor Bayne, Jamie Little—they're all great in their own right. There's just something that happens when getting together here with NASCAR on FS1 or on Fox this time with Lime Rock Park. It's not it hasn't worked, and it definitely didn't work here at Lime Rock Park, and sometimes it really was not enjoyable and not helpful either, which is something you would hope that the TV broadcast would be able to supplement, enhance what you're seeing there on the picture, and not just be a watch party, not just a voice that's yes, I already see that, like, or they all say the same thing in unison, or repeat what they just said 3 times, like I think that's one thing that Brock pointed out. I think it was just from qualifying or practice. They were going over the big hill there and catching some air, and they all sort of just said the same thing in succession. But the shining part of it for me, which I guess I'm spoiling one of my wine shining moments, was Mike Joy there. I know he got limited time, but what he did was incredible, though, and it's just a little bit of his long career of just being one of the greatest of all time.
Yeah, well, but to that point, Brandon, I think, and Brock said this on his stream. I think Matthew Owens, friend of the show, certainly had this sentiment as well, because we were kind of joking, like, oh, look what we made happen here, right? Because he tweeted, hey, they should send Mike Joy out there, the New England guy, and his home track and what he knows about Lime Rock, and send him out there to call the race. And they were teasing that back and forth, and we got confirmation that he was going to be there. And then we heard, oh, he's just going to do a 2-minute segment, if that, and talk about the history of the place. And
that was the biggest letdown of the week.
It was
the biggest letdown of the week, because Matthew kind of was able to kind of break that news with Mike Joy. And so, and then we got the clarification when he said stay tuned. I was like, all right, they're doing a special thing here. They're giving the other ones a break, and Mike Joy's going to be the play-by-play here at Lime Rock. Of course, they're not actually there at Lime Rock either. That's another problem, because where is there to be there at Lime Rock? I guess there's not even grandstands, and that's just part of the history too. But
well, but somebody's got to, like, you can set something up on the hill and maybe call the race from there. I mean, it's not like the weather was bad. There were some concerns about that, but
and is it Connecticut where all the TV networks are? Is that's just NBC Universal?
NBC
Stanford,
for sure. I don't know about the others. I know I'm sure people have bases in New York, which is not too far away. But,
what kind of cost cutting are we talking about here?
Well, and that's the thing. Like, I understand that rationale, but like you're sending Mike Joy out there anyway. You're sending Todd Bodine and Josh Sims and your ARCA reporters out there anyway. Like, you got to send a camera crew out there anyway. Like, how much money are you actually saving with whatever it is, 3 plane tickets or whatever for your play-by-play and color commentators? It just doesn't make any sense to me. But it was one thing during the pandemic when you're trying to limit as many people being in one place as possible. But I think what networks realized during that era was, okay, we have pulled this off. We can do this. We're going to try to save any money we can or cut corners anywhere we can, and we're going to continue to do this for races that we don't consider to be as high value. But again, for a race that was on broadcast Fox that surely had more casual viewers than usual tuning in, I don't know, maybe that's why they were hyper fixated on the battle for 31st between Frankie Muniz and Tony Brining for 2 laps there. I know no disrespect to either of those two drivers, but they have the star power and the name recognition, but we didn't really get to see what was happening throughout the pack. I guess they're trying to just cater to the more casual viewers by showing the spotlight on those two names, which is understandable again, but to make such an emphasis out of it. And again, just to not even have, I know Brock was saying this with his brother watching the race. Shout out to Last Bro as well. This is a brand new track for even some of the fans that are between the levels of casual and diehard. Like, I'm a casual sports car guy. I play video games. I know what the layout of Lime Rock was, but I imagine there were some even strong NASCAR fans that were being introduced to this track for the first time, but had never seen it before, hadn't seen it in a long time since the K&N days.
North.
Yeah. There was no like track map or any sort of graphics for that or anything. It just seemed like it was such the most bare bones, minimal production value you could possibly have. And again, I think you have an even greater obligation when you're at the start of a new TV deal, when you're on broadcast network TV for the first time, and then you couple that with the fact that for whatever reason this booth still just does not seem to be able to captivate the energy. I mean, I know it's not the easiest thing in the world, especially when you have somebody like Corey Heim that's just so dominant and running away with it. But again, I understand why we don't have live pit stops, but having the stage cautions and not having competitive pit stops really took an element of strategy out of this race that I think would have helped it out from that perspective, especially since we had a lot of green flag runs. So the combination of all those things really left a lot to be desired from this broadcast. And I do think it is probably the weakest broadcast that Fox Sports has put together for this series since Knoxville 2022. And that is quite a low bar that they were barely able to cross, I guess. You think that, again, as much criticism as they've gotten over the last several years, to not even be able to, hit the level that we've been accustomed to be even worse than that. Again, I don't love talking about it here, but at the same time, I feel like, there's a reason why Brock called it out. There's a reason why people were talking about it on social media on Saturday. We as fans, I think, deserve a broadcast that can show us what is happening throughout the pack and deliver the quality that we have come to expect as fans. And we're simply not getting that from people that, again, I don't want to, get personal with or call out by name, because they all have strengths of their own that I think they can contribute to what the broadcast might provide, but it's just not happening right now.
I mean, just shame on the producing crew. I mean, that are the executive producers that allow this kind of thing to happen. This is FS2 quality on national Fox platform. It just shouldn't be that way.
Brandon,
it demands more respect than that. That's for sure.
I hate to say it, Brandon. I think the FS2 quality was actually a little bit better because at least Eric Brennan was in the booth.
You're right.
You're right. For the ARCA race. So the ARCA race was on FS2. So
you're pulling the Eric Brennan card on me. So you already win. So.
Again, I hate to say it, but Jamie Little is a great pit reporter, very knowledgeable, but when did she take over the ARCA broadcast? Was that 2021? I think, this is year 5 for her. I think it at a certain point, if your play-by-play continues to be this lackluster, and again, I hate saying it, but it's true. You just look on social media. It's almost universally the sentiment that, it's not a role that's working for her right now, at least with the direction that she's getting from the producers. And again, it's not all entirely on her. Like you said,
we've seen it with Adam Alexander, in my opinion.
That are letting the booth down as well. But and again, being remote in Charlotte or wherever they are, instead of being at the track, puts you at a disadvantage right from the get-go as well. Again, especially when you're already sending people to the track, it's mind-boggling to me that they, for a race that they're going to put on big Fox, big network TV, and they can't even send their broadcasters to the track. It's just incredibly frustrating.
That's not as frustrating as the CW not being able to send themselves to Charlotte, but that's another story a few weeks ago.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, you're right. It's not just a Fox issue as well here.
Yeah, I mean, get an Uber.
Yeah,
you're there.
Honestly,
conquered.
Well, speaking of Xfinity, Denver, one of our regulars, good to see you, Denver. Should Xfinity go to Lime Rock Park? I would say I'd welcome that. I'm a bit of a local now, obviously. I wasn't able to make the trip out this year, and I don't know. I'm glad I didn't go. In hindsight, I think with how messy the ARCA race was in terms of, the leaders running into trouble here. And, lap traffic certainly made things interesting there at the end, but with how late that race ended, the truck race, that was the other thing from the Fox broadcast. I don't know if we ever figured out what truck was laying down oil that caused the red flag. I completely forgot about that. But Michael Waltrip was like, okay, we got to get to the bottom of this and see who that truck was. If anybody found it out, please tell me.
They got to the bottom of it. They didn't tell you though.
I don't think we heard that either. So again, that's just another example right there.